you touched on a couple things I want to drill down a little further into, which is, you hear the word process, and process seems so rigid, and often because the way that it's implemented is very rigid. Right? It's like, this is what we do in a training program. We go in this order. This is the progression, and we hit these programs and these timelines and these gates. But does that change based on the class that you just recruited? What if you're recruiting a class that has deep product knowledge? Are you able to go back to that training content and adjust your training content so that you're serving them what they need? That they'll say meet them where they are.
Yes, it has to be flexible, and it has to be appropriate. I was just sharing with you earlier about a training that I had recently gone to, where we had a really kind of wide scope of salespeople, professionals. We had myself, who has been in the sales industry as a professional for many years. We had someone who was straight out of college. And so while you can teach product process all day, every day, there are some basics that this person probably needed to be in a different group. Or mentorship, tagging them along with somebody who's a little bit more tenured, a little bit less green. Because I'm much along the lines of, while you can teach process all day, every day, there is an artistry to what we do.
In fact, yes.
And there's something that is innate in people who are successful. And we've talked about successful people and what makes them successful and what divides them sort of from, I don't want to say everybody else, but the mentality that mediocrity is okay. I've seen that in varying worlds that I've been in. But you can't teach somebody to be motivated.
Yeah, and again, you're talking back to the whole framework of EQ, right? That self-motivation piece has to be there. It's essential. But I do think there's an opportunity for organizations to really evaluate, and within their process, where is their flexibility? On the design and the technical side of the house, we often refer to things as agile design, which means we go back to every iteration and look at where can we make adjustments or pivots while the process is still happening. So we don't follow the exact process and then do the review. Within the process itself, we're reviewing what's happening and what's going on. And I think that's a big opportunity for many of the organizations today, is to really look at it and say, how do we meet people where they are and give them the need? And for me, one of the ways screams pre-work. That's where you have a greater span to adjust the programs that you have. Give them what they need. Go a little deeper for those that may need it. Stay a little higher for those that don't. But then use that in-person or that learning space as a real opportunity to say, now let's put those skills to work.
And I think actually, and I'm kind of thinking back to where I was talking about having a new person and a tenured person, there actually is incredible value in that for the new person, but even for the older person to be like, well, this guy's coming in here green, but they're fresh and they don't have the bad habits already created or any of the negative thoughts. And so if you can look at it, and I'm the type of person who looks for a lesson in everything, right? How can I learn from this opportunity? Whether I won it, whether I lost it, what's the learning scope in this? What can I get better at? What did I do really well? But again, if you work for a company that doesn't have that mindset, then it's on yourself to grow and to develop yourself. But if you work for a company that has the vision to say, this is very important. This is what drives our revenue. So this is one of our important line items that we've got to really invest in, not because, we should do it, but we have to do it. There's really no other way.
And I've always loved, when I was leading a sales team, to inject new talent into the team, right? And some people look at it as, oh, well, we have a newer person that's going to take away resources. I loved it because, we're both parents. And one of the things I admire about children is they have less fear about some of the most challenging things, right? That one thing that we're panicked when we see them standing on, we're going, you get down right now, right? They're thinking, get down. Jumping is an option to get down, so they jump, right?
Well, and there's that natural curiosity. And that's something, we're talking about going back to the basics, but I had a really great manager once that told me, act as if you're a child. Have a childlike curiosity when you're questioning and when you're asking a prospect what they need. And if it comes across in that genuine, like, I'm just, you know what, Ed, I'm just really curious. Why do you do things the way you do them? Or we'll have, you know, I hear my son, who's almost 9, and every time I answer a question, it's, well, why?
Yes.
Well, why? Mm-hmm. Well, why do you want me to do it this way? Well, I've already told you the answer, but why?
Yes.
So, not in a badgering kind of way, but it's very innocent.
Yes.
And this childlike curiosity really bodes well, I think, now in our environment, because I think a lot of people are so process driven. This is the way I was taught, and this is what it was trained for me to do, and I got to follow this list of questions and this spreadsheet and do it this way, instead of taking those tools, which I think they are really great and valuable tools, but then increasing the human aspect to it.
Yes, and you know, we refer to that as inquisitiveness versus questioning, right? Questioning is like, it's like the little pebbles that someone's pelting you with, as opposed to just taking the time to say, I've had an opportunity to look at your business, and here are some of the trends that we're noticing in the industry. Help me understand why you are behaving in this way, using this tool, why you decided to partner with this other organization when I know your goals are. That's inquisitiveness, right? And although, you know, we refer to it often with children, saying that, you know, they always want to know why.
Right.
By nature, they're inquisitive. They're not asking why to annoy us, although sometimes it may feel that way. The reality is they're asking because they're trying to tie that reason and that purpose to something that they can relate to.
Right.
And excuse me, as sellers, I think we lose that sometimes.
Yes. Well, because we're afraid of rejection. We are afraid of the answer that we're going to receive. Because I think sometimes you can be sitting in an environment where you're thinking, this is a great opportunity, I've got this in the bag, and then they throw the monkey wrench at you of, this is why we do things the way you do things, and me as a seller might go, that's horrible, why would you ever do that? But you can't say that because that's their process. They might not know any better. They might not have ever thought, well, maybe there is a better way. Because, you know, a lot of the things that I talk about, you know, who's my biggest competition? It's the fear of change.
Yes.
People are terrified, regardless of what the product is, whatever it happens to be. They're afraid of what if I change things from where they're at? I'm very comfortable now. Things are fine. And when you start asking those inquisitive questions, they start to uncover and realize, okay, things are maybe not fine.
Right.
But my goal in every conversation that I have is to kind of diffuse this fear of change.
Yes.
But the ultimate goal is to uncover that the pain of staying is greater than the fear of making the change.
Yeah, and that's a great approach, because status quo tends to be the greatest level of competition. That doesn't mean that you won't have competition from other vendors or from other solutions or other ideas. But sometimes it's easier just to leave things the way they are and know them for what they are, right? You know it, you have a workaround, you have a system in place that overcomes the other, you know, challenge that you're faced with. So it's easier to stay that way. And it's the old value cost analysis, right? Which is it more beneficial for me to change? What's involved with that cost? There's hard cost and soft cost. Or is it easier to stay where I'm at and know that this is a set cost, right? It takes me 2 more hours to complete this task because we don't have a process in place that allows me to do it sooner.
Yeah. And I actually was thinking about this the other day. So, you know, I was talking with a prospect that I had kind of been working with for many years, and just, it's more me driving to be like, hey, I'd like to work with you because you're a great company, and I would love to see if we could help out, fill in any gaps. And for 2 years, it was, we're good, we're fine, everything's good. I had made a follow-up with them, and they said, oh, you know what, we made a change. And I went, oh no, how did you not call me? And timing is a big piece of it.
Absolutely.
About 4 or 5 months later, I get a little message on LinkedIn. Hey, I wanted to talk to you because we did make that change and it didn't go so well. And so these little breadcrumbs we're talking about over the years of creating value, creating a relationship, humanization of the selling process. This person reached back out to me saying, you know what, I like you as a person. I don't really know much about what your company does, but we need some help because we kind of made a mistake.
Okay.
And you go through the process and, you really learn what drives people to make those changes. And somebody who just made a change 3 or 4 months ago is now in so much pain from that change that they actually have to make another change.
Yes.
And so there is a delicate balance of solving a problem, but not creating more pain.
Yes.
The best you can. But then also realizing that relationships, trust, those are huge pieces, because you can't guarantee someone's going to call you because you dropped off a widget or you made a couple phone calls or you sent a bunch of emails. It's because you had thought and process around relationship building and thought leadership that then will drive support into a possible sales cycle and hopefully a new client.